Good morning, American literature students. Welcome to the final week of actual classwork. Where did the semester go, right? These A terms are pretty doggone quick, and that's why this last week is probably going to be pretty intense. Uh, but look at the bright side. When you turn in your final exam and your essay, your semester will more or less be over. You can kind of wash your hands like this and call it a day. I, on the other hand, will have more intense days long after you have turned in your final work because I have to grade all that stuff and get your grades in a very timely manner. So, welcome to the last week. I've read all of the first drafts of the research paper, and I've sent you a pretty lengthy email explaining my apologies for taking so long. But there are 30 of you that turned in first drafts, and I wanted to give each first draft the attention it needed. Now, for some students, it didn't take very long. For some students, just a few minor tweaks, and you're ready to turn it in for a grade now. For some students, you may have to scrap your entire paper and write me a whole nother one. And this is especially true of those of you that wrote history papers, like gave me Frederick Douglass's biography instead of telling me what Frederick Douglass wrote about in the assigned readings. And this was true also of the witch trials. It seemed a common mistake for students to give me a history of the Salem witch trials and barely mention Cotton Mather at all. So those were the two papers that, or not two papers, the two types of papers, I should say, because there were more than two. Those were the two types of papers that gave students the most trouble. But again, many students also did very well on the first draft, so it is doable. And I gave you the worksheet that I emailed to you. It's also in the useful D2L handouts folder in D2L to help you see my comments and address them. Now, over the course of the next week, I finished reading these on Friday and sent the email on Friday. So those of you that are weekend warriors had 2 weekends to work on this. And those of you that work during the week, you've got this entire week. If you need the extra help, email is probably not the best way to ask for it now because it takes me so long to type up my comments. The best way to do it might be to send me an email and then call me on my office phone during office hours, or it might be to stop by my office with a hard copy, or it might be to use the Writing Center or to use the Information Literacy Center, which is located in the back of the library if you happen to live in the Albany area and happen to be able to stop in during those hours. That's what those resources are for. They are there to help you with these papers. And if you're not using these resources while you're struggling with papers, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So I'm a resource, but also you have those other two resources as well. I'm always happy to help students work on their papers. I'm always happy to help students get better grades. Many of you have A's and B's in this class right now, and we're going to talk about the postings here in a minute. So the fact is that I'm pleased with the progress that just about everybody in this class is making. The ones that I'm not pleased with are those that aren't doing the work. Those that don't do the work and fail the class, well, that's what you get. But those of you that are making the effort seem to be making enough of an effort to be doing well. So let's talk about the postings now. I have graded every posting all the way up through the Walt Whitman and Ralph Waldo Emerson postings. Those of you that have already posted on Lincoln and Douglass and Poe, as of about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I've also graded those postings. And I took the time to grade the late postings. What that means is I graded nearly 200 postings over the weekend. But I got them done. Now, I didn't give you a whole lot of comments unless I really felt the need to say something. Like, for example, you lost two points on this 10-point posting because you still haven't learned how to cite poetry correctly. I might have made a comment like that. Or there might have been other comments as well, like this is not what the question was asking. There were some of you that read Walt Whitman poems that you didn't need to read because they weren't assigned. And so I've commented on that. But for the most part, I've graded them. Here's what I have to say about these postings. If you feel like you need to ask me why you're not doing so well on them, I'll take the time to give you comments maybe on one posting and say, look at the rest of the postings. Because if you've been getting 7s or 6s all throughout the semester, the chances are you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Somebody described that as insanity, but I won't go that far. But if you've been doing the same thing over and over again and getting 7 after 7 after 7, there's probably a reason why you keep getting 7 after 7 after 7. I also want to say this. If you're getting lots of 9s and 10s, and believe me, I gave out lots of 10s and lots of 9s and lots of 9s and a halves. Those are all A's on these postings. I gave lots of those out because a lot of you have been doing very well on these postings. If you've been getting 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, 9.5, 10, 10, 10, 9, and then all of a sudden there's a 6 stuck in there because you didn't do very well on a specific posting, please don't call me up and ask me why you got that 6. There's 2 reasons for that. One is I'm dropping the lowest posting grade. So when you look in your grades, you may see a posting in there that says dropped 0 out of 0. What that means is that one didn't count against you. So you're not getting penalized for that one bad posting. The other reason is if you've got a whole bunch of 10s and you've got one little 6 stuck in there, honestly, that 6 is not going to hurt you very much. It really isn't. That 6 might be something like a half a percentage point of your overall grade. So concentrate on all the great postings you've been doing. If you've gotten one that you got a lower grade than you wanted on it, let it go. Honestly, it's not really going to hurt you that much. Because if you're getting 10 after 10 after 10 after 10, you're doing what you need to do and you're understanding the readings. And you're writing very well about them, and you're citing your sources properly, and you're formatting your quotes properly. So that's what I have to say about that. But if you feel the need to contact me and say, why am I doing so poorly on these, I'll take a posting and I'll go ahead and analyze it for you and give you comments and say, okay, now look at the rest of your postings. They probably all have the same thing. All right. For some reason, I thought Poe was last week's reading, so I gave you lots of comments on Poe last week. Turns out Poe is this week's reading. Last week's readings were Lincoln and Douglas. I hope that you enjoyed the Lincoln and Douglas readings. A lot of you seem to really take to the Douglas readings quite a bit. This week is Poe. I want you to go ahead and post on Poe, but also realize that Poe is fun. Poe is probably my favorite author that we read this semester. So that's one of the reasons why I've got him last. I am a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe, and I hope you will be too after reading the 2 poems and the short story that I've got for you. So that's this week. All right. Final drafts are due next Sunday, or this upcoming Sunday at 11:59 p.m. I'm going to have to, say, please get those final drafts in by then, because I have to grade those before Wednesday, because I think I have to submit the grades on Thursday. So if you're late on those final drafts, you're doing not only yourself a disservice, but me a disservice. So the final draft will be due this coming Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And bright and early Monday morning, I am going to start grading them. So what that means is if you submit it at 3 a.m. Monday morning, I'll probably be okay with that, because of the fact that I'm not going to be up at midnight looking in the Dropbox going, okay, who turned them in, who didn't? I'm not going to be doing that to you. But please, 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 by the time I wake up on Monday morning and start my Monday morning classes, I would like for that final draft to be in there so I can get them graded. Final exam will open up Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Notice, look in the syllabus and look on your calendar, the final exam due date will be Wednesday at noon. That is because on Thursday I have to give your grades to you. So, from Saturday to Wednesday, I know it's a short window, but that is your window for the final exam. Do not lose a letter grade and a half because you took a 0 on the final exam. I will send out emails, I will post on the wall, I will put up another video Saturday morning. I will do everything I can to remind you. It's not to bug you, it's not to get on your nerves, although it might do it. It's to remind you that this final exam has to be done then. If you've done well on the first 2 exams, you will likely do well on the final exam. I'll have a study sheet for you. It'll be comprehensive. It'll cover everything from the first reading we did this semester all the way to Poe. And there will be an essay component. And again, I'll have a study sheet for you probably about the middle of the week, which I will email to you and post in the assignments folder to tell you what you need to know for this final exam. again, I know this final week is going to be tough because you've got two postings, you've got the final draft of the essay, and you've got the final exam. But that's the way an A term semester works. So I know it's not easy, but put yourself in my position of having to grade all of that in about a day's time, and you'll know that it's not easy for any of us. But that's the way an A term works. So I will be on you about this final exam starting, probably Friday. I'll probably send out the email, and earlier in the week, like I want to say about Wednesday, I'll send out the study sheet. But be prepared for the final because it won't take you long to do it. Now there will be an essay portion that'll add time to it that you didn't have before, but it shouldn't be all that difficult. So that's this week. That's this week in a nutshell. If you can get through this week, and by next Wednesday, which is March the 4th, have everything done and turned in, you will be able to take a big sigh of relief, and you will be able to do whatever it is you do to relax, and it will be a moment that you'll be happy with. So that's all I have for this week. This is probably the final video aside from the one to remind you about the final exam, which I will probably release like on Friday or something like that. And this is it. This is seriously. Let's take this final week seriously, and let's really put our noses to the grindstone, and let's get through this. And if we do, I think you'll be happy with it. And on that note, I bid you adieu.